second-hand market for coaches and carriages, and fund research together with the industry into next generation high-speed rolling stock. Infrastructure managers will also need to cooperate more closely, which is not happening today, to provide predictable and attractive cross-border capacity for long-distance services. Third, we need to support our rail supply industry. We are world leaders in rail technology, but production cannot keep up with demand today. Ordering a new train means waiting for 4 to 6 years. Meanwhile, global competitors are improving fast. And we cannot afford to lose another strategic industry to Asia. We will therefore review public procurement rules next year and encourage our industry to produce more standardized high-speed trains, enabling faster, cheaper production with lower maintenance cost. And of course, the final pillar, the fourth pillar, is governance. We need to strengthen our coordinating role. We will make greater use of our 10T coordinators, elevate to the political level the expert group on the competitiveness of the rail supply industry, and, very important, strengthen the role of ERA. Ladies and gentlemen, the second initiative adopted, which I present today, is the Sustainable Transport Investment Plan, STIP, which sets out an EU approach to boosting investment in renewable and low-carbon fuels for the aviation and for the maritime sectors. These sectors are the ones who depend almost entirely on fossil fuels and sustainable fuels, and is the only viable solution if we want to decarbonize them. But STIP is not only about decarbonization. It is equally about Europe's energy security, strategic autonomy, and industrial competitiveness. To meet the EU sustainable fuel targets under the ReFuelEU Aviation and FuelEU Maritime regulations, Europe needs to produce around 20 million tons of sustainable fuels, biofuels and e-fuels by 2035. 20 million tons. Yet, today, the regulatory obligations are not enough to trigger the investment we need to reach this goal. And we face a clear market failure. Despite Europe having the largest project pipeline ready for e-fuel production, investors hesitate to take final investment decisions. Sustainable fuels currently cost 2 to 10 more times than conventional fuels and require massive capital investments. There is also a mismatch between the needs of the fuel producers and the needs of off-takers, like airlines or shipping companies. As the world races to meet international demand for cleaner fuels, this is an opportunity for Europe to move ahead of competitors and secure the economic benefits of being a clean energy leader. But to scale up the production of renewable and low-carbon fuels, we need 100 billion euros for investment by 2035, and we need it fast. There's no time to lose. Most of this is expected to come from the private sector, but it is not yet happening, and certainly not at the pace required or at the pace that we would want. The STIP, therefore, sends a clear signal to investors. Our targets are stable, and the Commission will support the sector throughout the transition. The next 2 years are important. Investment decisions and construction must start by 2027, or we will miss the 2030 targets. It's as simple as that. So STIP will therefore focus on the short and the medium-term measures. In the short term, STIP will mobilize all the resources under current EU funding programs, like the Innovation Fund, Horizon Europe, InvestEU, amounting to at least 2.9 billion euros of EU support for sustainable fuels. In addition, together with the Member States, we will launch an ESAF Early Movers Coalition pilot project to mobilize at least 500 million euros for synthetic fuel projects. This is very important. We will establish an EU mechanism to connect fuel producers with buyers, to support revenue certainty while de-risking investments. We will also explore how the EU ETS mechanism can further support aviation and maritime sectors, which is something that I feel very, very strongly about. But STIP is not only about investment and funding. It also proposes a broad set of actions on the regulatory simplification and streamlining. And we will also strengthen international partnerships to boost global production of sustainable fuels, while ensuring at the same time fair competition for EU producers and users. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, today's transport package will drive innovation and investment, connectivity and autonomy, while at the same time creating the resilient and cutting-edge transport system that Europeans want and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we can open the floor for your questions. I would just like to flag that we would like to stick to the topic of the press conference. Obviously, commissioners can answer your questions if they decide so, but this package is interesting and important enough to give it an attention. Yes, please, there on the left.
Hi, Marcello Campo from Italian news agency ANSA. Now, you talk about this. I don't know if it's working. Yes, sorry. If we have a plane ticket, we go to Sky Scanner and we find all information. We can imagine something like this also with train. You talk about something, but if you can have more detail. Thank you.
This is for Commissioner Tzitzikostas.
Yes, indeed. That's the goal. The goal is, and we will present this at the beginning of 2026, for all passengers to be able, with one click on their phone or on their PC, to be able to book and to purchase a ticket cross-border through different companies and multimodally, which means that if someone wants to book a trip and needs to use for the one leg of his trip an airplane and for the other a train, he will be able to do that with one ticket. But of course, the priority at this point is to make sure that citizens, when want to use a train for cross-border connections through different companies, they will be able to book it as a single ticket. And of course, we will present passenger rights to support this new entry in the way that people travel. So yes, this is exactly our target, and this is what we're working on, and we will present it early 2026.
Thank you. Another question was here in the middle, and please introduce yourself and the media you work for.
Does it work? Yes. Frank Hütten from the German transport journal DVZ. On the investment plan, please Well, the figures you're presenting are, of course, not nearly as high as the figures on investment needs that you presented, so it cannot be about the figures. Could you explain what this new mechanism, this pooling initiative can do? How can this leverage all this private money that you have been talking about? Thank you.
Commissioner, would you like to elaborate?
You want to say something?
Please.
Financial plan?
It's working? Okay, good. So thank you very much for your question. We are working very hard in this respect because financing, as I said, is quite important, if not the most important aspect of this package. STIP will mobilize, as I said, 2.9 billion euros under the MFF based on existing EU programs. This means for years 26-27 only. On top, we plan to mobilize with the interested member states 500 million euros for a first double-sided pilot auction on eSAF. So in total, STIP will announce 3.4 billion of investment booster. This is to kickstart the first investments very rapidly. And we need this to happen now. Otherwise, the needed fuel will not be able in time to be produced in time for 2030 and 2035 targets. The 100 billion that is needed covers a longer time frame. So it's not something immediate. Up to 2035. And of course, most of the investments need to come from the private sector, but also from the member states. So STIP is intended to help to kickstart the production and to de-risk the first movers investment. The 100 is financing that will be needed later on.
Thank you. I can see plenty of questions also online. Let's go to the other side of the room here.
Hi, Angela Skujins from TPP World, Poland's public broadcaster. I have a question about Rail Baltica, the Baltic Railway project. It's estimated to cost 57 billion euros, and in July the European Commission announced a 295 million euro injection. Will the EU commit any more funding to this project? And speaking of the military mobility package, which is expected to be endorsed in 2 weeks' time, are there going to be any more funding announcements for Poland as part of this? And are there any other projects identified in that region that could be of interest as part of that package for the Transport Commissioner? Thank you.
As you said, we are working regarding this proposal for the next weeks, and I think that Commissioner Tzitzikostas can be explained in the details, in particular these projects.
Yes. Well, let me be clear. Of course, we will present this mid-November, but military mobility package does not announce new funding. As you know, funding for military mobility during the current MFF was at 1.7 billion euros. The money was gone in 3 years because of the great interest of member states for projects, and we funded a lot of projects in most of the member states in Europe. But now, the budget for military mobility for the new MFF is going to rise tenfold, 10 times up. So we will be using 17 billion euros for the military mobility infrastructure in the coming years. So the military package is not going to be about the funding. The military mobility package, which you will see in 2 weeks, will mostly be about how we will facilitate military mobility and how we will act and react if it is needed. But let us not discuss today military mobility. Of course, countries that are members of the European Union are going to be beneficiaries of these programs. of military mobility. And finally, let me remind you that military mobility projects can already be funded today after the review that we did in cohesion funds, where if a country presents the case of a military mobility project, funds can reach up to 100% funding from the European Union.
Yes, Vice President, please.
Regarding the midterm review of cohesion, it is important to remember that we closed the procedure in September. We are waiting the proposal from the member states and the regions, and we'll see how it's possible to move some resources, not for military, but for dual use. As you know, this is a clear in the proposal, and I know that several member states are presenting the proposals in this direction. And in a few weeks, in the coming weeks, I think that it will be possible to have a clear idea regarding these opportunities.
But let me be clear for some. If we want all this to happen, we need to have this proposal of the CEF budget adopted. So I urge the co-legislators to support the Commission's proposals on CEF, which is doubling the money, the funds for infrastructure projects in CEF, and increasing by 10 times the infrastructure projects for military mobility funding. So it's a good opportunity today to remind everyone that we need to strongly support this proposal on CEF funding.
Thank you. Another question there.
Thank you, Eva, for the floor. Alexandra Voudouri with Kathimerini Greece. I will take the rare opportunity to ask my question in Greek, if I may, to Commissioner Ditsikostas. Mary? Okay. Κύριε Επίτροπε, καλημέρα. Το φιλόδοξο αυτό σχέδιο που παρουσιάσατε σήμερα, πιστεύετε ότι θα μπορούσε να αποτελέσει μια τελευταία ευκαιρία για τον ελληνικό σιδηρόδρομο λόγω των γνωστών και χρόνιων παθογενειών του? Θα αποκατασταθεί επίσης η εμπιστοσύνη του επιβατικού κοινού και θα προσελκύσει επενδύσεις? Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Είναι προφανές ότι ξέρουμε πολύ καλά και το γνωρίζετε κι εσείς ότι το Ελληνικό Υπουργείο Υποδομών και Μεταφορών έχει καταρτήσει ένα σχέδιο δράσης πάνω στο οποίο έχει θέσει πολύ συγκεκριμένα χρονοδιαγράμματα, έχει υποβάλει το σχέδιο αυτό στην Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή με στόχο την αντιμετώπιση όλων των ζητημάτων που απαιτούνται ώστε το ελληνικό σιδηροδρομικό σύστημα να καταστεί ασφαλές σύμφωνα με τους ευρωπαϊκούς κανονισμούς. Γιατί όπως ξέρετε, από τις πρώτες εβδομάδες ανάληψης των καθηκόντων μου και αφού πρώτα ενημερώθηκα από τις αρμόδιες υπηρεσίες της Κομισιόν για την κατάσταση στο ελληνικό σιδηρόδρομο, ξεκίνησα διαδικασία παραβίασης των ευρωπαϊκών κανονισμών από την Ελλάδα. Και έτσι λοιπόν τώρα παρακολουθούμε ως Κομισιόν πολύ στενά την εξέλιξη και βέβαια την πρόοδο που σημειώνεται με βάση το σχέδιο δράσης που έχει υποβάλει το Υπουργείο Υποδομών και Μεταφορών στην Κομισιόν. Πρέπει να σας πω ότι οι υπηρεσίες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης εκφράζουν την ικανοποίησή τους για την πρόοδο αυτή και ότι τηρείται το χρονοδιάγραμμα του Υπουργείου. Φυσικά, εμείς συνεχίζουμε να παρακολουθούμε πολύ στενά και να αξιολογούμε διαρκώς την εφαρμογή του και αν σε οποιαδήποτε στιγμή εντοπίσουμε την παραμικρή καθυστέρηση ή αδυναμία, θα λάβουμε άμεσα μέτρα. Πέρα όμως από αυτήν την στενή εποπτεία, παρέχουμε ήδη τεχνική τεχνητή βοήθεια και τεχνική βοήθεια στην Ελλάδα, ώστε το σιδηροδρομικό σύστημα της χώρας να βελτιωθεί και να γίνει σύγχρονο, ασφαλές και αξιόπιστο, όπως ακριβώς αξίζει σε όλους τους Έλληνες πολίτες. Τώρα, είναι προφανές ότι ακριβώς αυτό το πρόγραμμα που παρουσιάσαμε σήμερα είναι ένα πρόγραμμα το οποίο θα ενισχύσει αυτή την προσπάθεια που κάνει σήμερα το Υπουργείο Υποδομών και Μεταφορών της Ελλάδος. Σας παρουσίασα στην αρχή και μπορείτε να το δείτε στους χάρτες ότι ο στόχος είναι η διαδρομή Αθήνα-Σόφια σε μερικά χρόνια να γίνεται σε μόλις 6 ώρες από 14 που είναι σήμερα. Και προφανώς μέσα από το πρόγραμμα αυτό θα μπορέσει και η Ελλάδα να αποκομίσει σημαντικά ωφέλη, κυρίως σε ό,τι έχει να κάνει την χρηματοδότηση σημείων του σιδηρόδρομου, τα οποία είναι σήμερα προβληματικά ή έχουν καταστραφεί από φυσικές καταστροφές όπως ο Ντάνιελ και για τα οποία το Υπουργείο Υποδομών και Μεταφορών έχει ήδη ξεκινήσει τις διαδικασίες αποκατάστασής τους. Η Ελλάδα λοιπόν θα ωφεληθεί από τις σημαντικές αυτές νέες επενδύσεις με τον αυξημένο προϋπολογισμό του μηχανισμού ΣΕΦ, το ΕΣΠΑ Μεταφορών και Υποδομών όπως το λέμε στην Ελλάδα, και τη νέα συμφωνία αυτήν για τις σιδηροδρομικές υψηλές ταχύτητες που πρόκειται να υπογραφεί, η Ελλάδα μπορεί να προσελκύσει ευρωπαϊκή και ιδιωτική χρηματοδότηση για σύγχρονες ανθεκτικές και κλιματικές προκλήσεις που υπάρχουν στις υποδομές, από την αποκατάσταση κατεστραμμένων γραμμών, όπως σας είπα, έως τον εξυγχρονισμό βασικών αξώνων βορρά-νότου. Τα έργα αυτά θα μειώσουν τους χρόνους ταξιδιού, θα δημιουργήσουν νέες αναπτυξιακές ευκαιρίες για τη χώρα και κυρίως θα καταστήσουν το σιδηρόδρομο ασφαλή και με βάση τα ευρωπαϊκά πρότυπα. Εν ολίγης, η συμφωνία αυτή αντιπροσωπεύει και τη στήριξη της Ευρώπης προς την Ελλάδα με χρηματοδότηση, τεχνογνωσία και ουσιαστική βοήθεια για την οικοδόμηση ενός σιδηροδρομικού συστήματος ασφαλούς, ταχαίως και πλήρως συνδεδεμένου με το υπόλοιπο ευρωπαϊκό δίκτυο και βέβαια με βάση τους ευρωπαϊκούς κανονισμούς που ισχύουν.
Thank you. I would like to take one question online now. It's Anna from LUSA. Anna, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, and we see you.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, good morning. Ana Martinez of the Portuguese Association of LUSA. I would like to ask some questions on the connection between Lisbon and Madrid that is foreseen under this plan, and there was already an agreement last week between the governments of Portugal and Spain. Why does the Commission think that this project will now go ahead, take into account is being discussed for so many years? Second, the Commission has already mobilized around 200 million euros for Portugal, and how much more can it mobilize? And the third question that I have, given the competition between the trains and airplanes, how can these type of tickets or these type of connections compete with the low-cost airlines? And do you have some studies on these? Do you have in mind like an affordable ticket price? Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have talked already about the tickets, but maybe we can start with Madrid-Lisbon railway.
Yes. Well, as you know, Madrid-Lisbon will be a reality within the next coming years. And as you can see from the map and the efforts that we are undertaking from the very beginning of this mandate, we need to make sure that the single market functions well and that Europe is truly united, which means that I'm in constant discussions with ministers of transport and infrastructure in France, Spain and Portugal to make sure that the Iberian continent will be well connected by rail and road in the coming years. Having said that, of course, what is very important, and I need to stress it again, is to make sure that we have adequate funding. In order for this to happen, we need the proposal of the Commission to be adopted on the new MFF. Because as you know, all this line that you described in the Iberic Peninsula is on the TEN-T corridors. And of course, affordability, to answer your last question, is, as you know very well, brought by competition. And so if we present to the people fast trains, well connected, connecting many cities and capitals across Europe, with a way to go somewhere fast and safely, rest assured that citizens will definitely choose train over any other means of transport. But we are not here to create obstacles to some transport modes. We are here to incentivize others to make the difference for Europe, for our climate, but also for our economy and for transport in the EU.
Thank you. Next question was there in the middle.
Thank you. Vibor Vlajnic, Croatian Radio Television. So obviously I'm interested in the part of the plan regarding Croatia and Croatian railways. I see on the map that Zagreb-Budapest line will be plans to be reduced from 6 hours to 4 hours and 15 minutes travel time. So in practical terms, what do you expect to see, especially in Croatia, to achieve that goal? Thank you.
Before Commissioner answers, I can also refer you to our press materials where you have country specifics and where you have exactly which railways are already being built and what is the plan for a specific country. So there you can also go to find information about your country. Commissioner?
Yes, I would say that you have all the material in front of you, member state by member state. And you can always get informed on the infrastructure projects that are underway. What I can tell you is that I'm in very close collaboration with the Croatian government in order to make sure that we stay on track. And this, by the way, is what I do every day with all 27 member states ministers on transport and infrastructure, to make sure that we avoid delays, that we move fast, and that we deliver the high-speed rail on time, just as is indicated on the material you have and the maps that we showed you.
Gabriela?
Thank you, Eva. Gabriele Rosano, Il Messaggero, Italian newspaper. It's not as rare as an occasion as with the Greek language, but I will also take advantage of having the interpreters in the room, so I will ask my question in Italian.
I would like to say that we interpret to 20 languages and take the opportunity to thank to our interpreters, and now we are ready for your question.
Thank you. Vicepresidente Fitto, abbiamo parlato di vari paesi, di vari collegamenti ferroviari, se può dirci qualcosa anche in particolare su quelli che riguardano l'Italia in questo piano che presentate oggi, e una seconda domanda sulla competitività e i trasporti. Ieri la Corte Costituzionale italiana ha annullato alcune disposizioni di legge in Italia che mettevano limiti ai servizi di noleggio con conducente. Il tema ha anche una dimensione europea, visto che anche all'inizio di quest'anno, quando avete presentato la comunicazione sulla strategia sul mercato unico, avete annunciato azioni per far sì che regole e principi del mercato interno e della libera concorrenza si possano applicare anche al settore dei servizi di noleggio con conducente, quindi non soltanto ai taxi. Volevo sapere se ha un commento appunto su questo e sulle prossime mosse europee. Grazie.
Ma per quanto riguarda il tema dell'alta velocità con l'Italia, come è stato evidenziato anche nel video e troverete anche nello specifico i riferimenti, l'Italia ha una serie di interventi molto importanti che però non sono inseriti esclusivamente in questa proposta, ma che sono anche una prosecuzione di un lavoro molto rilevante. Mi piace ricordare che nel Piano Nazionale di Ripresa e Resilienza una delle voci più importanti è quella delle infrastrutture ferroviarie. Gli investimenti realizzati in questo contesto superano abbondantemente i 20 miliardi di euro, quindi è un contributo molto rilevante in questo senso che oggi prosegue anche con una organizzazione più strutturata, così come quella che viene presentata con queste misure che mettiamo in campo. Per quanto riguarda la decisione della Corte Costituzionale di ieri, è evidente che non è mio compito entrare nel merito né tanto commentare la decisione sia della Corte Costituzionale che delle eventuali ripercussioni sul governo, perché evidentemente tutto questo riguarda un dibattito interno. Laddove dovessero esserci profili che riguardano e che impattano sul fronte della competitività per la semplificazione del mercato interno anche a livello europeo, evidentemente la Commissione riprenderà in debita considerazione. Oltretutto, come sapete, anche sul tema della competitività esiste uno dei principali obiettivi in termini di riforme anche nell'ambito dell'attuazione del Piano Nazionale di Ripresa e Resilienza, quindi c'è un doppio livello di controllo e di collaborazione tra Governo italiano e Commissione europea.
Thank you. And the last question I think I can take is online. Louise, are you still there? And would you like to pose your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Yes, thank you. The question regarding on Spain, I would like to ask you why, if I'm not wrong in the map, I don't see connections between Barcelona and France. So it's a problem between Spain and France. There was at least one company who said that France Spain was asking for better connection between France and Spain. So my question is why you ignore Barcelona in this roadmap, and if do you think that it exists a bottleneck between France and Spain? Thank you. In the border.
I didn't hear the last part. What was it? The border?
Bottlenecks, if there are any bottlenecks.
No, we don't forget, rest assured, any of our beautiful city in Europe. But today we presented the connections between capitals. But all major cities will be included, including, of course, Barcelona. We presented the core network at this point. But what is important, and that I want to stress out, is that I'm working very hard with the Minister of Infrastructure and Transport of France and Spain, both friends and both great politicians, in order to lift the bottlenecks in the borders between Spain and France. And very soon, we are planning a visit at the border with the two ministers. So I want to ask you for a little patience, and I hope that in the near future, in the very near future, we will have good
you.